Hello and welcome to my first podcast. My name is Annie Shaneri, and today we are going into something I think about every time I scroll through TikTok, Instagram, or even YouTube. Is what I'm seeing actually true, or is it just what the algorithm wants me to see? We're talking about algorithm-driven platforms, the ones that decide what shows up in your feed and how they often prioritize engagement over truth. It's not just clickbait anymore. It's a system built to push whatever keeps us scrolling, even if it's misleading or totally false. Let's start with the basics. An algorithm is basically a set of rules a platform uses to decide what you see. The problem is, these platforms are businesses, and their main goal is to keep you on the app as long as possible. According to the Pew Research Center, more than half of Americans now get their news from social media. Add AI into the mix with large language models, deepfakes, and auto-generated videos, and it's getting harder than ever to know what's real. I've seen it on my own feeds. Watch a couple videos on a trending news story and suddenly my whole For You page is flooded with takes on it. The thing is, they all have different facts. It's easy to get confused or even believe the wrong version until you dig deeper. To get an outside perspective on this, I wanted to talk to someone who hasn't been buried in research like I have. So I brought in an everyday user of social media to get his honest thoughts. Okay, hello Dorian.
Hello, Annie.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Okay. When you're scrolling through social media, how often do you think about whether something is true before you believe it?
I want to say most of the time when I see something on social media, I try to consider whether it's real or not, but sometimes, you get caught off guard. Sometimes you just are on autopilot and, you know, it just blows by. You don't even think about it. But I want to say I do, but I'm sure there's moments definitely where, I blank and don't really think about it. So,
Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, have you ever shared something online or in person that you later found out wasn't true? And how did you feel about that?
I don't know if I apologize about it, but I want to say no, I haven't, but I definitely have. Most definitely knowing how much stuff's out there, how much information, even if it's the slightest, you know, bit off from the truth. I definitely have shared many pieces of information that weren't
Mm-hmm.
true at all. So I'm not sure if I've reached out or even actually have realized that it was false, but I definitely have 100%.
Yeah,
So,
I think we all have.
you know.
Do you think platforms like TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube care more about showing people the truth or keeping people on the app? And why?
I think it's obvious where an app that, collects, money through ad revenue, hosts ads, and that's kind of their main source of revenue, pays creators from sponsorships and whatnot. Their goal is to keep people online, keep people on social media, keep
Mm-hmm.
people posting, keep people watching, keep people buying. So I don't think that the truth is something they're completely worried about, not nearly as much as profit revenue and keeping people on the apps. But I think it's something that they've been criticized openly about. I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff on it in the news and even on social media.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely keeping people on social media is their goal.
I totally agree. Do you personally think social media has made it harder or easier for people to know what's real?
I think both harder and easier. You
Mm-hmm.
think about it, when social media allows everyone to have a voice, things can go viral, information, that is suppressed. You see the things that are going on with Boeing, for example, and all the lawsuits, whistleblowers. I think it's Lockheed Martin or Boeing. Sorry if I got that incorrectly. But also back then, there's only one source for the news. So you have to widely accept that whatever the news was and whatever newspaper you're reading in 1980, or obviously they had TVs back then, but whatever news channel you were watching, you can't assume they're telling the truth. You're only getting it from one funnel. With the internet, you do have a whole lot, vast, like, plethora, forest of information.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is there's a lot of incorrect information now. So a lot of it is not based in fact, is completely opinionated and not true. So I'd say both. It's, not maybe a perfect answer, but I hope I explained it well.
Yes, that makes sense. What is one change that you think social media companies could make to stop false or misleading information from spreading so fast?
This is tricky. And it kind of works with I'm a big believer in free speech, but I also think, we have to be careful what we say on the internet, especially. Um, I think social media platforms need to maybe hinder people from spreading this type of information. I'm not sure how. I've seen a lot of the time they place like this information isn't true or this information may be misrepresented, like a little header banner on a video. But sometimes a lot of the information isn't actually incorrect, or there's no way to disprove it. So it's kind of a tricky like situation where I don't know if social media needs to do that. Maybe that's a societal issue, and I think filtering certain videos or information online isn't always the best. I think keep it free speech. Everyone can say and share what they want, but also bound things. So it's kind of tricky. So not really a great answer, but
That's good. Do you think people even want the truth anymore, or just content that entertains them?
that's a good one. I think it's again a bit of both. I think personally, I found myself just as we call doom scrolling on the internet and just keep watching new videos, different topics, and I feel like I get smarter because of that hit of dopamine, and you feel like you learn something new. But in reality, no one can retain that information. It's kind of like AI now, where you're going on ChatGPT and you get this whole plethora of information. You don't even feel like you need to know it anymore. But nowadays, I feel like people are actually seeking the truth and pushing that information out there, especially since social media is so wide and free now, where anybody can post something. I do feel like restrictions are starting to come upon us. I won't get into that, but I think now people are trying to find the truth, push the truth, and educate people. And I think that's awesome. And I'm excited for what comes of that, and hopefully it keeps continuing, and we don't get stopped with that as you know the majority population. But
Yeah, I agree. I think people are becoming more aware.
yeah.
You seem to know a lot about this subject. Where do you get your information from?
Um, Same as almost anybody else. I'm on social media. I use AI on the internet, so a lot of my information is from there, from using the stuff. But obviously, some of it may not be true. I like that this question kind of brings it all back together. But yeah, mostly from the internet, which is ironic, and social media. But I feel like a lot of the time, the main problem is people have to. It's good to question things. I think that's kind of what I see you're getting at, and it's good to always do your own research, look into things. And I feel like on my end, I do my due diligence here and there, and try to verify what I'm speaking, and speak generally, and not try to make any factual claims or anything. But yeah,
Well, your input has been valued,
awesome.
so thank you.
Thank you so much, Annabelle.
I think it's interesting to hear that perspective from someone who's not deep into the academic side of this topic. It shows how the average social media user is thinking, or sometimes not thinking, about the accuracy of what they're seeing. According to a 2023 report by the Center for Countering Digital Hate, platforms aren't just failing to remove false content, they're often amplifying it because controversial posts keep people engaged longer. And more engagement means more ad revenue, as our guest was getting at before. But that's why experts like Tristan Harris, co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology, argue that we need a major shift in how these systems are designed, so accuracy gets rewarded, not just attention. So what can we do about it? First, being aware is huge. Media literacy, knowing how to question sources and spot red flags, makes a major difference. Second, fact-checking tools exist for a reason. Organizations like Snopes, PolitiFact, and even Google reverse image search can help you see if something has been manipulated. Third, we can change our own habits. Like, don't share that post until you've confirmed it's accurate. If you don't reward these posts with clicks, the algorithm stops pushing them to you. I'm not saying all algorithms are evil. They can be useful. They can help you find content you actually care about. But right now, they're optimized for profit, not truth. And that's the challenge for all of us. If we don't want misinformation to win, we have to start interacting differently online. Because the algorithms are listening and learning from us too. So, here's my challenge for you. The next time you're scrolling online and see something that invokes anger, shocks you, or makes you emotional, do a quick search. See if the facts match. Then see how much your feed changes when you stop engaging with the most sensational stuff. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Annie, and this has been Is Social Media Lying to You?